Hello, and welcome back to the Authentic Creative Expanding Your Capacity to Feel Good podcast. As you may see if you're watching the YouTube version of this, I've got these gorgeous women here, mother and daughter team. I'm so honored and delighted. I love this background. I love how you're together. I love that you're mother and daughter. I love the work you guys are doing. I'm going to tell you all, for those who are listening and for those who are watching, a little bit about Theresa and Ariel. So Theresa and Ariel are certified mother and daughter coaching team and co-founders of the women's coaching and mentorship company Impact and Empower Inc. They are also co-authors of the Amazon #1 best-selling book Unstoppable, Volume 2. The dynamic mother-daughter duo are women's empowerment coaches specializing in mother-daughter relationships. This is so important, you guys, right? Like, who doesn't need this? After struggling with their own mother wounds, meeting countless other women with the same deep-seated, deep-rooted wounding and witnessing a rise in estrangement, they knew there must be something they could do to help other mothers and daughters heal and improve their relationship. So Theresa and Ariel decided to join forces and are now on a mission to help women uncover the root cause of their mother-daughter conflict, heal their mother wounds, and break toxic generational patterns. I'm just filled with head tingles saying your bio
Thank you.
because you're so welcome. Because, as you know, and as those listening know, this is everything. I mean, how often do we trace back and reverse engineer a problem and get to the root of it? And it's the mother-daughter relationship and that mother wound. It's kind of the root of most issues. Not to
Yeah.
mention the father wound, but like it really is so essential. And we all, I think, just to make a general blanket statement, have things that we are just so in love with about our relationship with our mother, whether she's present or past, and things that were challenging for us. And then as mothers ourselves, we get to come up against those issues. I've done several breathwork classes where I've led specifically mother wound breathwork and curated the music to that. And it's so profound and beautiful. It's such important work. So I'm just curious to start with, what was your relationship like in the beginning, in the middle, and now, the two of you?
You want to take that one? Well, for Ariel and I, actually, her and I have had an amazing relationship from day one. I struggled with a mother wound. And of course, in my generation, you never heard that term mother wound. It was
Right.
computers. There was no talking about it. It was shameful if you even brought it up because how dare you speak of your mother in those terms or have a problem with her? She's your mother. Respect her no matter what.
Yes.
So I grew up in that era, and so I had a mother. Now, learning all of this, I had the mother wound
Yeah.
and tried really, really hard to do better for my children because that's what I wanted. I wanted to raise them the way I wished I was raised. But I still had a wound. I still was a wounded woman that carried those wounds into her relationship with her children. So
Mhm.
I taught my children things that I wished I didn't, right? But with what we know now, we're able to look back, see what happened, where I made mistakes, how I behaved and taught her things I should not have, right? And so now that we both know this, I mean, and have grown so much as women together, it's absolutely amazing and the joy of my life. I'm just, who could say that they get to work with their daughter and be in heaven every day? I love it. So, yeah.
Oh my God, I am just tearing up hearing this. It's so gorgeous. Your
How
yeah, your humility. I want to hear from both of you, but I just want to respond to the humility and the sorry, the humbleness and the lack of ego that you're expressing. Of course, we all have ego, but like it's just, it's just really, really, I see so much consciousness and grace and awareness and joy in your journey and where you've come and where you are now and what you're doing to heal and help others and taking the things that were broken or difficult or challenging and now using that as your purpose in the world alongside your daughter is incredibly powerful on so many levels. So thank you for the work you're doing and thank you for, really being honest with yourself, forgiving your past and doing all of this work. It's so healing for the whole planet.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh, okay, tell me more. Ariel.
Sure, I'll go. So like my mom said, we did. We've always had that close bond ever since I was young. And again, I think that was because, right, she never had that with her mom. The only affection that she had with her mom, and I never met my grandmother. She passed away when my mom was pregnant with me, but the only affection she got was a touch on the palm of her hand. She never got hugs. You know, and so I think in her effort, right? She's like, I have this child now with me, and I'm going to give her everything I didn't get. And so I think really that was just kind of the big thing in our relationship. She was pushing so hard for that. And so that's what I got from her. And we've had a lot of traumas, you know, together and separate over the years. And one of the ones was my brother's suicide in 2017. And that shifts everything. That just blows up your world completely, and it changes.
And you never get over it.
You don't ever get over it, right? And
No,
it changed us.
no.
And I think, years we spent kind of in this dark tornado, in this storm, just kind
Mm,
of living life,
mm.
and then we decided, what, we can't live this way. And so we started this healing journey together, and it forged our relationship even that much more. It made us, brought us that much closer, through this tragedy, and so at the end of that, it's like, yes, we went through this awful thing, but now it's brought us closer. It's brought us to our purpose of helping other women,
Yeah.
that we've gone through hell and have come out on the other side. And, like I said, we've gone through a lot of things. And so I think we can really connect with a lot of women. And,
Yes.
I've been there too, and you can make it through to the other side. It's possible.
Yes. Oh my goodness. There are so many people who have gone through that type of hell, and it's so individual for each family. And like I said, it just never goes away, the struggle and pain of that reality. I'm so sorry. I chant and pray for friends of mine, mothers of friends. It's every day, it's in my heart, what the families have gone through. And it's very tender, right? But like you said, it's so important because you've been through hell and back. You know the cave. You can shine the light for others and you can help them out of those dark places because you know exactly what that feels like. So that's incredible.
A lot of women that are in that dark place, it's like they don't even know where to start. They don't have that hand reaching in, to
Yeah.
help them pull them out. And so, you know, we love, like you having this podcast, right, to share women's stories and let people know that they're not alone and that there is help out there, and
That's
and
right.
not to be, afraid to do it or feel shame or guilt around that. So thank you for what you do.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. So, the work that you started doing together, when did that start?
Let's see, probably not for a few years after my brother's passing, I
Yeah,
would say.
2017 is when he passed, and probably the end of 2018, 19, I was at that point where I was like, I am existing. I do nothing.
Mhm.
I'm existing. I'm doing a job that doesn't bring me joy. I do it because it pays the bills and it's, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
benefit. But I felt like this really deep pit in me that I have to do something that's going to get me out of what I'm doing. And I've always been into psychology and studying humans, and it's just always been a passion of mine. And I thought, that's it. I was literally sitting at my desk working. I got off of work. I went straight to my phone and I called and I found out about life coaching. And I said, sign me up right now. I'm doing it. So I started it. And I started working with women that have their children leaving home, empty nesters, right? Because I know that was really difficult for me. And so I started in that area. And then I was telling her, oh, I'd love for you to come on board with me. You know, this is such an amazing field and it brings me so much joy and feels so good inside. So she was at first like, no, not really, not into it.
I was in the thick of my career in
Yeah,
marketing, and I know he had always talked about doing a business together, but I was like, maybe it's not the right time.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so finally she was helping me with the back office stuff because I'm not tech savvy. I had no idea all these things that I had out there. I didn't even know about podcasts. I knew nothing. So she was the one that educated me and taught me. We reversed roles and she became my teacher and helped me get to where I am today as far as reaching out to people like you and doing what we're doing. Um, and she started seeing the transformation of these women. I've had women tell me that they were honestly thinking about ending their life, like they were
Mm.
done.
Mm.
And that for them to say, you saved my life, real hard. Yeah. Um, that's why I do what I do.
And so, I was seeing these transformations happening. I was like getting involved in her group coaching and, because I like her, people always come up to us and they're always just like telling us their life stories and, wanting help with things. And so, you know, I got in onto her calls and I was like, you know what, I really want to do this. Like, I think this is my calling too, and so I kind of jumped into all kinds of things, doing different programs and learning how to coach and
Mhm.
neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis and EFT and
And breath work.
somatics, breath work, all
Mhm.
these things, right, that help me, right, help her in our healing, but also can help other women. And so I just kind of dove in, and then last year we decided, you know what, we started seeing, with all these women in her business, there's this foundational root wound that kept coming up. And we're like, what is this?
Mhm.
And so we really started researching and digging into this. And she ended up finding Rashka Hasseldine, who is a pioneer in mother-daughter coaching. She's a therapist, and she ended up training with her. And, we're like, this is it. Like, we're going to
Mhm.
come together. We're going to mother daughter team, and we're going to jump in, and we're going to go help other mothers and daughters, or mothers and daughters separately, because a lot
Mhm.
of times there is that estrangement or that poor relationship. And so we're like, we've seen it in family, we've seen it in friends, we've seen it in strangers, in our clients. And so we're like, this is what we need to do.
And the mother relationship, that is the foundation for who we are, who we become, how we live our life.
Yeah.
And we're like, so we need to go back to the root, right? Which is, let's find out what happened in this relationship so that we can bring you forward and into a better life, both hopefully mom and daughter. But if not, it's okay. You've got to heal yourself first.
Yeah. So I'm curious about a couple of things. One is for people who aren't familiar with the term the mother wound. What would you say about that? Let's talk about that first.
Mm.
So again, this has come up recently. I feel like this last year, right? Mother wound this, mother wound that. We hear
Mhm.
it flying all over the place, but some people are like, I don't even know what that means. And so what it is, right? That mother wound happens um, due to it's a lack of mothering that takes place due to harmful and painful beliefs, identities, patterns, programs that your mom is carrying, right? Her
Mm.
wounding
Mhm.
that gets down from generation to generation through that
Yeah.
female lineage in a patriarchal society.
Mhm.
And so, that's really what it is. So, when mom has lots of trauma and she's wounded, right? She's showing up as that wounded woman, right? She's viewing the world with her trauma and wounding lenses, and she's showing up like that in that relationship with her daughter. And so that wounding, right, gets transferred to daughter. And again, like a lot of the symptoms of the mother wound, I would say the top ones would be first, women with that mother wound, they like feel like inherently like there's something wrong with them. They
Hmm.
have like really bad issues with worthiness, right? They don't feel worthy. They have low self-esteem, low self-love. There's a long list, and don't have this sense of self. They don't trust themselves. There's this lack within them. They're always seeking their mom's approval and their love and their validation, right? And it's like never getting that. They people please, they don't have boundaries, they silence themselves and shrink themselves, so it's this not living authentically that happens, and afraid to express emotions, afraid to express yourself, because again of childhood, right? A lot of times that was suppressed, and that was dangerous, those things to
Mm.
as themselves. And so this carries into adulthood, and it causes havoc in all aspects of our lives and relationships with friends, family, romantic, career, money. It shows up everywhere because,
Yeah.
you're trying to live off this old programming that happened right when you were young as an adult, and it's no longer working. So it's like a buggy software, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's interesting because I found a few years ago through coming back around to somatic practices like breath work that I was able to, from the body standpoint, right? Because so much of it with all the work that you both do is stored in our body. And I found that doing breath work consistently completely allowed me to feel safe within my nervous system to actually create the space to allow my mom to be who she is in present time, as opposed to relating to her from all of our past wounds and our past dynamics and our past grudges with each other. And
Mm-hmm.
that is one of the most powerful things for me to be able to say, I'm safe for myself. I know how to be safe for myself. I know how to reparent myself through my own nervous system regulation. That's been completely life changing. And then also to be able to have boundaries that I didn't really know how to create previous to starting to get into breath work, and doing more and more of the self-improvement work and where things are up to now. Everyone, just like with the mother wound, talks about the word boundaries. And I was like, boundaries. Okay, guys, I get it. Yeah, yeah. But now it's like really until recently, I was like, okay, yes, totally get it. Getting it, getting it. So it's great. Like we're all on our own path, right? And we all learn things in our own divine timing. How do you work with a woman that her mother is passed and she's wanting to heal that mother wound, but she can't actually have a conversation except on spirit level?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a choice, right? It's a choice if you want to heal. And some women feel like they can't heal because they didn't get the validation from mom. They didn't hear mom's side. They didn't hear
They
mom say, I'm
validate.
sorry. It's all of those things,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
A lot of
But
times we're stuck in that. It's like, we have a client right now that it's like, I'm going to stay angry because my mom refuses to say I'm sorry. It's like, okay, so who hurts from that?
yeah,
Mom's not hurting. Mom's doing her thing. You're the one hurting and carrying this into your life.
yeah.
Um,
And it's only until recently, this reparenting thing and this responsive parenting, that we've learned to apologize to our children. That's new.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And when we realize that I don't need anybody, any external being, including my mother, to heal, that I get to do this for myself,
Yeah.
that's when we take our power back and we say, you know what? Even though she, like my mom, she's passed, I've learned, and I, with the work that we do, with mapping our mother's history, our female lineage, we learn things that are very beneficial. And I,
Mm,
when I learned certain things and started putting the pieces of the puzzle together, I was
yeah.
like, light went on. And I'm like, I didn't even need her there to do this, where I could grow from what I've learned. And all of this stuff that women like you, right? The breath work and the body work and the spiritual work. We need all of that. We are not just a single being. We are made up of all of that. And when we
Mhm.
learn that we don't need anybody else to heal us, we have it all within us. We get to do it and say, it's okay. I'm going to heal myself.
Yep.
Yes, yes. So whether the mom is physically around or not physically around, we don't have to wait. We can just give ourselves that permission to heal. And we don't have to wait for someone to say sorry because most people are never going to say it.
Thing of it is, oh, sorry. The thing of it is, right? What does saying sorry actually do, right? It
Doesn't
might
change
feel
the past.
good. Yeah, it doesn't change what happened and the wounding and the hurt that, it doesn't erase it, right? It's just that for that moment, it feels good, right? But it's not going to change things in the past. And so once we allow or help women to see that, right, that you don't need anybody else to heal. It's like this light bulb moment
Mm,
goes off in their mind and they're like, that's so true. Like, I've been keeping myself in this self-imposed prison,
yes.
and I've had the keys all along and I don't need anybody else, and we're there to support them through that. And it's a beautiful thing. And just like my mom was talking about, we do mother-daughter history mapping, and that really opens up their eyes, right? It gets them to see like through their mothers and their grandmothers' eyes and their emotional realities as women, right, in
Mhm.
this patriarchal society, and we start finding themes, throughout the generations and things that happened and when you once you start picking that apart, they can really start to come to terms with what happened and why it happened and start pulling those puzzle pieces together. And yeah, it's just amazing to see.
That's
Yeah,
so
we see
amazing.
women. Yeah, we see the women where they feel like I can't move forward until I get the apology, and then eventually mom will apologize on some of them, and they're like, it it felt good for the moment, but it did nothing beyond that. And
Mhm.
that's when they realize, oh, it isn't about her apology, it's about me, about
Yes.
myself. So we may, eventually, hopefully they find out that.
And yeah, and it's right. Allowing them to realize, right, you're living in this victim state. You know,
Mm,
yes, what happened to you is not okay. You didn't have a choice in the matter, but now as an adult, right, you have to be responsible for yourself, right? Start grieving that, accepting what you didn't get as a child, and then being able to move forward, take that responsibility and give yourself what you need. Like you were talking about, right? The reparenting, that's part of, our 5-step method, is that reparenting. So it's
yeah. It's also interesting because it goes back to when we're in our mother's womb, energetically and on a DNA level, what we're already taking on and absorbing. So if a mother has had any sort of abuse that she's endured in her lifetime as a child or a teenager, when she has that baby in her womb, the baby is absorbing that abuse, that programming, right? And so it's not anyone's quote's fault, right? And I think that's a lot of probably what you guys work on is this isn't about blame because the blame
Not
puts
about
us in that victimhood thing, but it's like it wasn't until probably the breath work that I was talking about a few years ago that I really flipped that switch of victim to ownership. And I think some women never get there, and some of us do. And it's so powerful when we can really figure that piece out of like, well, is that serving you to keep telling that story?
exactly, exactly. We see it all the time, and again, right, the only person that it's hurting is you. But a lot of times, right, shining that big spotlight on yourself is a hard thing, right? Healing is not think for, right? It's, that ego is going to come up
Yeah.
and it's hard to be like, okay, I've actually made these choices that have gotten me to this position that I'm in right now. And it's a really hard thing to swallow for a lot of people. And a lot of people, right, they can't get themselves there because
That's right. Yeah.
they can't sit with the emotions, they can't sit with the feelings in their body that comes up when they shine lights on that.
Yes, yes, yes. It can be very, very, very challenging.
Yeah, and they
It's for the
become so,
courageous, isn't it?
yes,
But
they
what's the
come so,
alternative?
well,
Exactly. Living a life that you don't love and you're just sad and angry and frustrated and resentful and hate life. It's not a way to go through life. I mean, we've got one shot at this and it's like, how are you going to spend it? You know?
Mm. Yeah, it's like staying in that cage of disempowerment as the alternative. So it's like, okay, maybe we go through a little bit of that perceived pain, but then the outcome is this freedom that you both have found.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's incredible. How do you find, because this is the authentic creative, how do you find that stepping, you mentioned authenticity and not through the mother wound, not feeling like you're safe to be authentic? How do you help women, or what have you seen that has helped women, or even with yourselves, what's helped to start to be like, I can be my full self. I can really shine here. I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to tell my truth. I'm allowed to be me.
Yeah. Do we just go for that?
yeah, you can
And
start
you
that.
can add on. So I think again, right at the end, the root of this is the worthiness and love. Once our clients realize, right, I'm inherently worthy just because I exist, right?
Mhm.
I am love. I don't need it, anybody outside of myself or anything to give me that. And I feel once they realize that, right, and feel safe in that, then they feel, safe to express what's been buried inside and that, they don't need any outside validation. We change ourselves and we put this mask on and we're not authentic and we show up as who we think people want us to be,
Mm, mm,
and so we're constantly suppressing ourselves, what lights us up, right? The
Mhm.
creative side of us,
yeah.
and so I think once we get past that hurdle of it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of us, because at the end of the day, it's nobody's else's life to live. I'm the only one that's living it, and so once they get past that hurdle and then they feel safe, it's all about safety, right? Like you said, in the body, it's a
Yeah.
big, we work with them. That's the first thing. You have to be able to feel safe to show up and express yourself and to be able to sit with that when uncomfortable things come up, how to work through that.
And
So
yeah, a lot of times what happens is the child wants mother's attention, affection, their whole life. I'm sorry to have it's forever. I believe it's a forever relationship that you're always wanting that approval, that acceptance from mom.
Yeah.
We learn as little girls, how do I tweak myself so that mom does give me the affection, the attention, the love that I'm craving.
Yeah.
And when we learn that love isn't conditional, right? It is not conditional. We start to let go of, you know what? If you don't love me because I'm doing my own thing or I'm expressing myself this way, then you're putting a condition on my love. And I don't want to accept that anymore. I'm going to do and be what I am, and I'm going to let myself shine. And if somebody else doesn't like it, including mom, I'm okay with that. It's like
Mm,
until we get that healing, and hopefully mom comes on board so she learns to do the same thing
for
for
herself.
herself. Because if
yeah.
that's how mom is, and that's how daughter is. And until she can get that help, that unconditional love,
The
so
cycle continues.
it'll continue. And that's where we help women.
And here's the thing that I've learned recently, which is so like a duh moment, right? But you just have to get it when you get it. I can't change her.
No.
No. I can't make her love me any more or less or anything different. She is who she is, right? They are who they are.
And I think right when you have those mother wounds, it's like you're that people pleaser and you're always right, you're the emotional caretaker and you're constantly, feeling like you're responsible for everybody else.
Yeah,
And
Yes.
it's that aha moment. Like, what?
mhm,
You know, how easy, right? That adjustment is. Once you get that, it's like, wow. So,
It's
yeah.
so good because then they get to feel that safety and freedom of you not trying to change them all the time and make them be the better mom or make them show up in the way that you expected them to, or why aren't you doing it this way, or how come you're not on this growth path faster? Like, why aren't you trying the things I'm trying? All of that crap. Then they just get to be more of who
Be
they
present.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
And
And
when I was gonna say, and when we heal as a person, people around you start to see it. They
mhm,
feel your energy, they start watching you, they start paying attention. Wow, they're not getting triggered, they're not reactive, they're not doing what they used to do. Something has changed. Then they see the energy, the positive energy that's coming from you, the happiness, the joy, the true joy that's in here.
mhm.
And when they see that, all of a sudden they're like, okay, something's different, and maybe I do want to get on board.
And that was what happens is, a lot with our clients is daughters will come to us, right?
Mhm.
And moms aren't really on board because it's a lot of shame and guilt that they're gonna have to feel, and witness what has been done. But, again, right, they're like, okay, something's happening. I want in on that too. And so oftentimes the mom will come in later because she's seeing the changes that's going on in daughter. So
Do you think it's possible for a mom to not, quotes, mess up her child in some way?
No, we're human. We are human, period, right? It's like we make mistakes. We only know what we know. We have a world of certain people that are around us, the environment, right? That's all we have, period. We don't know this vast world that's out here, so we can only give what we know.
Hmm.
And personalities, right? She's very different than I am. We have very different personalities.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where if we don't appreciate each other and we don't realize that you're different than me and not get angry with it, that brings a lot of conflict into relationships. Moms and daughters not seeing each other for individual women. It's mom only. It's not my daughter. It's mom. That
Yeah.
super woman that dictates my life.
Mm. There's
It,
so many layers to what we put on the word mom and daughter. Like, there's just a lot of expectation for people of what those roles mean, right?
absolutely. And in that so in this society, right, in our culture, it's we don't see, once a woman is a mom, right, we stop seeing her as a human, as a person,
Oh,
and we have to remember she's not this perfect godlike creature on a pedestal that makes no mistakes,
she's grown up
and
too. Yeah.
yeah, nobody has a playbook for this,
Yeah.
and so it's like I think we forget that, and we hold moms to such high standards and expect her to do it all. And right, we have this culture of female service, like Rashka Hasseltine, talks about is right. We are expected as soon as we become moms, or even just in general women, right, to be selfless, to be self-absorbed,
Mm.
and to give and give and give until we're done and give some more. And
Yes, the martyr paradigm. Ugh.
just like and you give so much of yourself and then it starts creating anger and resentment. you
Yeah.
know you're not getting your needs met, you're not going after what you want, right? And it just causes so much havoc within us, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So
Yes, yes. This is the thing that we've seen is mom in the martyr paradigm sacrificing herself because that's what you're supposed to do. And then these women who are like, oh, I have to do that too. I can't actually live my dream. Or the mom putting pressure on the child to live the dream she never lived. And the best thing we can do for our children is to live our authentic self, to live our authentic life, to live our dreams.
Show up for ourselves, because when mom shows up for herself and is doing what she loves, right, it gives daughter permission to do the same, and it starts to break that cycle of, continual self-sabotage and giving,
Yes,
and
the
and
self-sabotage. Yes.
talking about, right, like you were saying, mom has these failed and unlived, desires and dreams. And right, a lot of times that is another thing that creates a lot of conflict is there's a thing called maternal jealousy, and not a lot of
Mm.
people, it's actually rooted in grief, and so that causes a lot of friction, and so when daughter's doing things that mom didn't get to do, go to college or whatever,
A
right?
good relationship.
It's,
Mm-hmm.
it pokes that part in mom that didn't get to live her dreams, right? And it makes her upset and angry, and she takes that out on daughter,
And then
you
she
know.
feels bad, and then it's a whole cycle. Oh my
Yeah. It's like,
God.
how dare I be jealous of my daughter, And it's that shame in even admitting that, right? Oh my God,
Yeah.
I be,
But it happens
but
a
it
lot. It
happens.
really does.
Oh,
It's a
that
big
makes so much sense. What did you call it again?
maternal jealousy.
Maternal jealousy. I haven't heard that term before, but I think that's really important.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Once the
and
daughter sees it and recognizes it, right, then repair can happen until the daughter understands it. Because a lot of daughters, like when you tell them that, they're like, what?
yeah.
And then as they really start thinking about it, it's like, yeah, I see that. Now I can understand and see where mom is getting jealous of me and why she's doing what she's doing, why she's sabotaging my life.
I just got this great boyfriend, and we're on the path to getting, engaged, and mom's coming in and she's trying to uproot it and sabotage it, right? Because maybe she had a failed marriage and she never, got to be with, the man she wanted, or daughter
Yeah.
just graduated with her master's or her degree, and mom's not going to acknowledge it, or she won't show up for the ceremony, or right, because it's poking that wound
Yeah.
that, she never got to do what she wanted because she had to be self-sacrificing and give up on her dream.
Wow. It's so deep and it's so true. It's so real. It's so sad. And I think it's like bringing the grace and the forgiveness and the consciousness to it is what you're both doing. And it's really important. It's really important. I just want to ask about, because I'm a mother of two boys, and I just constantly, and I think a lot of moms constantly feel like we're failing. So, in some way, like I could be doing
You feel
great.
that way?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So it's like in some ways I'm like, oh yeah, I'm acing this mother thing. And other ways I'm like, I think I might be really failing here. So that seems to be a common thread for moms. How do we overcome that? Or what do we do in the face of that?
Well, first of all, we got to be, again, authentic. We have to be and live ourselves. And we have to just set that role model, right? Have your children see you living your authentic self. Let them know that you're human. I'm going to make mistakes. I think that was one of our relationships was so good. I was very open with my children. I, you have to let them know I'm going to screw up. I am not perfect. And when I'm screwing up, you have permission to say, Mom, this hurts. Mom,
Right,
this doesn't feel right without me reacting or being angry about it.
right.
That's how I've always done it with my children. I've always said, you know what? I know I'm not the perfect parent. I know that I have my own deep-seated dark wounds and the only way I can teach you is by having an open communication and letting you say whatever you need to say to me without me reacting, right? Whether it hurts like hell, and it does. When you hear things that you've done, it hurts. But you have to just sit back and thank them. Thank you for being so open with me. What can we do together? Because you want to make sure you include them, right? What can we do together to make this better? right? Let them be a part of that with you.
And yeah, and another thing, right? The mom guilt runs so deep with, women. I'm not a mother, but we hear it all the time. We see it all the time. And I think it's really, again, right? It's breaking that pattern of we've got to be selfless and perfect, right? It's like give yourself some compassion,
Mm.
and and we forget to do that. We're so hard on ourselves, and we just really have to give us that compassion about, yeah, we are human and we're going to make mistakes. And again, like, right, say that to your children, right? You're not going to be perfect either, and it's going to be okay. Um,
Yeah, it's that thing
in
of
that
like
position to feel like,
you go because you're so aware of your childhood and processing it. You go, oh, well, is forcing them to do this thing giving them discipline and confidence, or is it like not letting them trust their own decisions and their own body? And like those kinds of things you just are navigating in the moment. And also, it's so interesting of now with this new consciousness, new awareness that we all have here is the children are starting to, I should say, my children are starting to, I don't know if this is correct, but like almost be overly entitled with, well, mom's going to apologize and she knows she's not perfect. And we talked about how she's not perfect. And so they're going to start to be like, well, let me tell you how to do this. And there's, it's like the pendulum has swung so much from in reaction to because I said so, to now being like, let me listen to everything you have to say about parenting and like, let me respond in a compassionate way. And like, let you make up some of these rules and like have a say in everything. And it's like, wait, like, where is the middle way here?
Yeah,
mhm,
so you can't go overboard with that. You are so right, right? That can be overboard. And then we see these kind of spoiled, entitled, kind of mean to the parents. I've seen that
Yeah,
oftentimes.
yeah,
Child is taking control. So we are adults. It is our job to correct our children, to
right?
help them, yeah, help them fit into society, to be respectful. So we have to, it's a fine line. It's
yeah.
very difficult to make that fine line, but children thrive with, what do I want to say? They thrive with,
Like boundaries and expectations.
they do. And knowing that this happens, and this happens, that brings a sense of security. I
Right.
know, right?
Yeah.
So you have to still discipline your child, period. And sometimes
Mhm.
you do have to just say, because I said, because I know better. I've already been around the corner a few times. I know better and I say so. And that's okay. But where there's that time for growth to teach your child, look, mom's
Mhm.
kind of struggling here. What's your input? Is very different, right? That's letting them know they do have that option to talk to you and open that without saying you're taking control, child, because it's not their role to take control. It's your role to take control, right? As the
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah. It's just navigating these two worlds of the old way of doing things, that quotes traditional way, and then this new way of parenting. And I feel like that can be slightly confusing because we're sort of experimenting with letting go of the old way, but then that some of those old traditional ways of being still are there because it's the programming, and then the new way we're like trying to do, and so they're kind of getting a smorgasbord of everything.
They're
Yeah,
doing a little bit, they're sometimes going a little too far this way. They need to come back. And it's going to be a learning process for any parent. And
yeah.
again, that's when they get older, we say, wow, what did I mess up? Where did I hurt you so deeply? Right. So,
But
And
and
you could do it all, you could do it all perfectly, and there's still going to be a mother wound.
because there's
There's
no such
still
thing
going
as
to be something that's going to be
absolutely.
interpreted in a way. Well, you did this thing, remember that time, and then I made it mean this, and therefore, yeah,
Well, your personalities are different, right? So you're going to think one thing's fantastic and wonderful, and you think, oh, I did this so well. And the kid's like, no, you didn't. And that's because their personality is different. So when you realize, no, we have different morals, we have different values, personality, wants, desires, creativeness, non-creativeness. Once we
Mhm.
realize that we're all different, right? And that they're not going to accept everything I accept, things go a lot smoother.
I love that.
I was gonna just say something and I totally. out of my brain. So okay, moving on.
Well, is there anything else with wrapping up that you want to share with the people listening about the mother wound, about how you coach, about the way you want to bring them into your world?
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing, and I'm going to let her go through it. Really, we have to do something because we're going to go into estrangement if we don't take control of our life, right? There's going to be some kind of estrangement because it seems like more people are leading towards that. They're walking away from mom instead of learning how to deal with it.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, or vice versa. And so we're seeing so much of that right now. And what I've learned in listening to other coaches and psychologists and what happens is they bring them together. Mom and daughter fight so bad, they're like, oh my God, you guys need help. You guys need individual help. So they send them off. And then once they get the individual help, they can come back to that psychologist or that counselor. And I'm hearing these women talk about that over and over because I studied with a lot of the counselors and psychologists and listening to them. And I'm like, why are they separating them? I didn't understand that in my head. Why aren't they taking care of it? They're the relationship specialist. So as I sat and started thinking about it, I was like, we know that you put two women together, any human, you put that are two women that are completely wounded and you put them together, there's nothing good's going to come out of it. Nothing. So why would we take two separate people and you learn about mom, you learn about daughter, and then we come back together? To me, it won't work. So her and I came up with this amazing way that we handle it. So we take the mother and the daughter and we kind of watch them, right? What is their dynamic? What is this one not understanding in that one? What does she need that she's not getting, right? And we kind of watch for that dynamic and then we kind of run through a process and then we pull them apart. When we pull them apart, we can then, her and I on the sidelines can say, this one's hurting and they aren't understanding this. I can talk to mom and figure out why, where it came from. And then we can kind of be the mediators together
Mm.
and then help them understand each other, their needs, their wants. And then once they get each other and they heal, then we can put them back together and then watch how they react and see their differences, help them learn how to communicate, respect one another's differences. And it's just amazing that we've come up with this and nobody's doing it. Like I said, I've sat with so many of these counselors through Rashka Hassadin's program, and they were all saying this. And that's when I was like, that's it. We have to come together and do this. So I
It's
think we're the only
great.
ones that I've ever heard of doing this.
It's
So
great.
So it works really well. And another thing I was going to say too is, again, if you're hurting, right, and you haven't taken any action, any steps to help yourself, it's like, just do it. Take messy action, jump in and stop delaying it, right? Because it's like that freedom is on that other end. It's like, just do it, and if it's a money thing, right, there's a lot of free resources out there that, you can find and become a part of a community, people that are in that same healing journey, and right, find your tribe and don't delay. Just get out there
I
and do
love
it.
that. I love that. My last question here is just, do you think I'm just thinking of a couple people, is it too late if the mom of the daughter is older and she's maybe in her last couple years of her life, is it too late for her to be in this program?
never, as long as you are alive
And you're
and
willing
you are
to.
willing to do the work and to learn. I have so many women that I talk to that are elderly and they're like, where were you my whole life? I wish to God I would have had known this. And I'm
Yeah,
like, but you can know. You
that's right.
have the opportunity to do it now. I have an aunt that's 80, 84 years old, and that woman is still learning
And
and still
growing.
growing and still, I mean, it's amazing to watch. And when I see her compared to other women at 83 that feel like they've thrown in the towel, I'm too old. That's when you stop living, that's when you stop dreaming and enjoying your life. So it is never, ever,
Mhm.
ever
Mhm.
too
Love
late.
it. I
No.
love it.
We work with, individual women, so moms or daughters or pairs. We do one-on-one coaching, two-on-two coaching, like we had just kind of talked about. We're going to be doing a group a coaching program coming up, so that's going to be something new. And we're going to be doing a retreat next year, maybe two, mother-daughter retreat in Sedona. We're about an hour from Sedona, and so we've got that coming up,
Very
and
cool.
we've got a lot of work. So it's,
That's
women can
amazing.
work ways.
Yeah, okay, so for offerings and free resources, we're going to visit impactandempower.com, and then we're going to have a code for you in the show notes that you can get $50 off of their Understanding Mother-Daughter Conflict workshop. And you guys can follow Ariel and Theresa on Instagram at Impact and Empower. I think this is incredibly exciting. I cannot wait to share this. This is important. And if you have any inkling of, maybe I have a little bit of mother wound stuff going on, which most of us do, I think it's worth reaching out to you guys. So thank you so
Have
much.
a free 30-minute discovery call on the website. So even if you're, like maybe this is right for me, maybe not, go ahead and book a call and chat with us. We'll see if it's right for you.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, you have nothing to lose by just booking a little free consultation. That's perfect. Yeah, it takes courage, but it's always worth it. It's
Yeah,
always
and if
worth it.
and if we find that our program's not right for you or whatever, right, we'll point you in the right direction and give you some
Oh,
other.
beautiful. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much, guys. Keep expanding your capacity to feel good, loving you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Theresa. Thank you, Ariel. You're both incredible, amazing. What you're doing, the way that you're a team, the safety that you create, the vulnerability, the honesty, the approach you're taking. It's really special. Thank you.
You appreciate it.